The world had never seen anything like it. A single city, built on 7 hills, rose from mud and myth, and went on to dominate continents. Its armies marched across deserts, forests, and frozen frontiers. Its laws shaped civilizations. Its roads connected the known world like veins in a living body. This was Rome. But here's the mystery. How does a republic of farmers and soldiers become the most powerful empire on earth, only to collapse under its own weight? Was it betrayal, corruption, barbarian invasions, or did the seeds of destruction exist from the very beginning? In the next 12 minutes, we won't just tell history. We will step inside it. We will hear the clash of swords, smell the smoke of burning cities, feel the tension inside marble halls where emperors ruled and feared for their lives. This is the rise and the fall of the Roman Empire. It begins with a story. 2 brothers, abandoned, left to die by the banks of a wild river. But they don't die. A she-wolf finds them, feeds them, protects them. Their names? Romulus and Remus. This is where Rome begins. Not with certainty, but with myth. As the legend goes, the brothers grow up, strong and ambitious. They decide to build a city. But ambition turns to rivalry. And rivalry to blood. Romulus kills Remus. And in that moment, Rome is born in violence. From the very beginning, power came at a cost. Now shift forward. The city grows. Slowly at first. Then faster. Rome is no longer just a settlement. It becomes a kingdom. Ruled by kings. Dominated by the powerful elite. But the people grow restless. They don't want a king. They want control. So they overthrow the monarchy. And something radical emerges. A republic. In this new system, power is shared. Elected officials govern. The Senate debates. Laws are written, not dictated. But don't be fooled. This isn't equality. This is a balancing act between the rich and the poor. The patricians and the plebeians. Always tense. Always fragile. And yet, it works. Because Rome has something stronger than unity. It has ambition. Roman soldiers are not just fighters. They are disciplined, relentless, organized. They don't just win battles. They adapt. When they face stronger enemies, they learn, copy, improve. This is how Rome expands. First across Italy, then beyond. Wars become frequent, necessary, profitable. And then comes a conflict that changes everything. Carthage, a powerful empire across the sea. Rich, strategic, dangerous. The clash between Rome and Carthage is inevitable. The Punic Wars begin. One general in particular terrifies Rome. Hannibal. He does the impossible. He crosses the Alps with elephants. Imagine the shock, the fear. A foreign army emerging from frozen mountains. 4 years, Rome struggles. Battles are lost. Armies destroyed. But Rome doesn't break. It endures. And that is its greatest weapon. Eventually, Rome adapts again. Strikes back. And defeats Carthage completely. The victory is brutal. Carthage is destroyed. Burned. Erased. Rome is no longer a regional power. It is becoming something else. A superpower. Wealth pours in. Territories expand. Enemies fall. But success brings new problems. Too much land. Too much power. Too much inequality. Generals become famous. Armies become loyal, not to the Republic, but to their commanders. And in the shadows, something dangerous begins to grow. Ambition, without limits. The Republic is still standing. But cracks are forming. And soon, they will split wide open. The Republic is dying. Not with a single blow, but with a series of betrayals. Powerful men rise. Not as servants of Rome, but as masters of it. One name stands above the rest. Julius Caesar. A brilliant general. A master strategist. And a man who understands one thing better than anyone else. People don't follow systems. They follow strength. Caesar conquers Gaul, expands Rome's territory massively. But more importantly, he wins loyalty. His soldiers don't just obey him. They worship him. And when the Senate orders him to give up his command, he refuses. Instead, he makes a decision that will change history forever. He crosses the Rubicon River. A simple act, but an unforgivable one. It is a declaration of war against Rome itself. Civil war erupts. Rome turns on Rome. And Caesar wins. He becomes dictator. Not for a year. Not for 10 years. For life. But absolute power comes with absolute fear. The Senate watches him closely. Whispers spread. Is he becoming a king? And in Rome, that word is poison. So they act. On the Ides of March, Caesar walks into the Senate. He never walks out. Stabbed. Surrounded. Betrayed. Even by those he trusted. Even by Brutus. Caesar falls. But his death doesn't save the Republic. It destroys it. Because now, there is no turning back. Another civil war begins. Even more brutal. And from the chaos, a new leader emerges. Octavian. Young. Calculated. Patient. He defeats his rivals. Outmaneuvers allies. And finally, stands alone. But he is careful. He doesn't call himself king. He doesn't call himself dictator. He takes a different title. Augustus. First citizen of Rome. But make no mistake. This is no republic. This is an empire. Under Augustus, Rome enters a golden age. Peace spreads. Trade flourishes. Roads expand even further. The Pax Romana begins. A long period of stability and prosperity. Cities grow. Architecture rises. Culture thrives. Rome becomes the center of the world. But beneath the surface, something is changing. The system now depends on one thing. The emperor. And not all emperors are like Augustus. Some are wise. Others are dangerous. Nero. A name whispered with fear. A ruler accused of cruelty. Excess. Madness. As Rome burns, stories spread that he plays music, watching the flames. Whether true or not, the damage is real. Trust erodes. And Nero is not alone. Over time, emperors rise and fall quickly. Some assassinated. Others overthrown. The throne becomes unstable. Power becomes a game of survival. The empire is still vast. Still rich. Still powerful. But now, it is vulnerable. Because when leadership becomes unpredictable, even the strongest empire can begin to shake. Empires rarely fall in a single moment. They fade. They weaken, quietly, until one day they are gone. Petra was no different. Even under Roman rule, the city endured. Its temples still stood. Its water still flowed. Its people still lived within the carved stone walls. But something had changed. The lifeblood of Petra, trade, was no longer dependable. Ships began to replace caravans. Goods that once crossed the desert now sailed across open seas. Faster, cheaper, safer. And Petra was no longer essential. At first, the impact was subtle. Fewer caravans. Quieter. Less gold flowing into the city. But Petra was built on a delicate balance. Its systems required maintenance. Its wealth required movement. And as both began to decline, cracks started to form. Then came the earth itself. In 363 CE, a massive earthquake struck the region. The ground shook violently. Buildings collapsed. Temples fractured. And most critically, the water system was damaged. Channels broke. Reservoirs cracked. Dams weakened. For a city that depended entirely on controlling water, this was catastrophic. Without its intricate system, Petra could not function the way it once had. Repairs were attempted. Life continued. But it was never the same. Another earthquake followed centuries later. More destruction. More instability. And with each disaster, more people left. The once bustling streets grew quieter. Homes were abandoned. Markets disappeared. Nature began to reclaim what had been carved from it. Wind, sand, time. Petra was slowly being erased. Not destroyed. Forgotten. By the early medieval period, Petra had faded almost entirely from global awareness. Maps no longer marked it. Histories barely mentioned it. The great city of stone had become a ghost. Hidden once again within its canyon walls. Guarded by the same landscape that once made it powerful. For hundreds of years, it slept. Until 1812. A Swiss explorer named Johann Ludwig Burckhardt heard rumors. Whispers of ancient ruins hidden deep within the desert. But locals guarded the secret carefully. Outsiders were not welcome. So he did something risky. He disguised himself. Learned the language. Adopted local customs. And convinced a guide to take him there. Through the narrow canyon. Step by step. Closer to something lost. And then, it appeared. The treasury. Rising from the rock. Silent. Unchanged. Waiting. Petra was no longer just a legend. It was real. A forgotten masterpiece. Rediscovered. But even today, Petra holds secrets. Tombs still unexplored. Tunnels still buried. Questions still unanswered. Because Petra was never just a city. It was a system. A vision. A triumph over nature. And in the end, a reminder that even the greatest civilizations can disappear. Not with a bang, but with silence. Petra is not just a relic of the past. It is a lesson carved in stone. A civilization that mastered its environment, yet could not escape change. The Nabataeans built the impossible. A thriving city in one of the harshest places on Earth. They controlled water. They controlled trade. They controlled their destiny. Until the world changed around them. And they could not adapt fast enough. Today, Petra stands as both a wonder and a warning. Because no empire, no matter how advanced, is ever truly permanent. If you enjoyed uncovering this hidden story, make sure to subscribe and explore more lost civilizations that history almost forgot.